Shalom, it is January 3rd and we're bringing to you the news of Channel 12, the evening news that many Israelis are watching now in their living rooms, and is the 89th day of the war, as the anchor says as well. It has been 1 day since the assassination of number 2 of the leadership of Hamas yesterday in Lebanon, so the alertness, the readiness, and preparedness is very high right now in all of the fronts, especially in the north. He was assassinated, and these are the other senior ones. But before everything, today was announced that Meron Moshe Gersh, 21 years old, fell in battles in Gaza from Combat Engineering Unit. May his memory be blessed. Now we're with Dani Kushmaro in the north. He says it is the 89th day. And they are sitting right now in a junction, very famous junction in Kiryat Shmona, which is one of the major cities in the north, and it is empty, as they said. But he's going to summarize right now with numbers the war in the northern border. More than 130 Hezbollah squads were attacked since the beginning of the war. 647 sirens were heard in the northern border because of shooting from Lebanon, and 61,000 families are evacuated from the north. The reporter said that they scouted today the area, but he says there are no residents, no tourists, of course, no businesses. There are sandbags all over. There are tanks, ruined, graveled roads. He says this has never happened since 1948, since the beginning establishment of Israel. The readiness and alertness in the northern border is very high. Kiryat Shmona was never officially evacuated like it is right now. So this is a very stressful evening in the north after the assassination of the second to the highest of Hamas. She thanks him and moves on to the next reporter. She says the alertness is high and he's supposed to respond about this regarding the north. He says the chief of staff was up in the north today. He was approving different plans in case of escalation with Lebanon. He says the timing is very interesting as America pulls out the aircraft carrier, one of two out of two that she has in the area. She pulled out the one in the Red Sea. There's another one in the Mediterranean Sea. But Israel is concerned. Israel is worried, and she's even asked. Israel has asked for clarifications about this move. This is because Israel is sensing an escalation coming up with Lebanon and Syria, just in the northern border. Here's the chief of staff saying that we are very much ready in the north. He says we have very good capabilities. We have a strong army, and we are very ready in all the fronts of Israel. But the war is creating opportunities for stabilization in the area and making order in the borders. And we will come to something much stronger. We'll bring something much stronger as a result of this war. Because October 7th cannot repeat itself. The anchor is moving now to ask about Nasrallah's speech. Nasrallah is the head of Hezbollah. He spoke today about the assassination, and he's talking about a response to Israel. So this report is bringing up what Nasrallah has said between the lines. It was an hour and a half of a speech. Nasrallah says, I'm not going to explain how and what and when, but we will respond. This is a crime, what Israel did, and we won't allow it to go without our response. He says, if the enemy thinks to open a war against Lebanon, this will be a war with no boundaries, no rules, no order. And he knows what we mean by this. And like we declared yesterday, this crime will not go without a punishment and a reaction. The next story is that the IDF announced this evening that Sahar Baruch, a hostage that was kidnapped alive from Gaza, he was killed in an attempt to rescue him. An elite and special unit was trying to rescue him in a special location in Gaza, in the northern part of Gaza. But it failed. This operation failed. The reporter says that it's not yet decided by whom he was shot, if it was by Hamas forces or by the IDF forces. Now back to the assassination of the second of command in Hamas, Salah al-Arouri. We see now the chaos in Lebanon, the hard feelings. They're interviewing. We see interviews of Lebanese citizens and some officials of Hamas and Hezbollah, but they're saying how mad they are that he was assassinated. And Hamas is hoping it will escalate into a war with Lebanon. And also in Jenin and Ramallah, they're demonstrating against the death. This Salah al-Arouri was very active in Judea and Samaria and the West Bank, educating from a very young age against Israel. He was bringing Hamas into Judea and Samaria. That was his plan. Now back into Israel in the northern border, Dani Kushmaro, the anchor, talks to Guy Veron, the field reporter, about the situation of families that cannot go back to their homes. He says for 10 years there was kind of turning the other way, turning the face the other way, not dealing with what was happening with Hezbollah, building posts, building homes closer and closer to Israel, lookouts into Israel by Hezbollah activists. And the residents of the northern villages of Israel are afraid, they're terrified that something like October 7th will happen also in Israel, also in the north. He says families are not willing to come back yet. And here's some numbers. Manara, Kibbutz Manara, this is about the destruction since the war began. 86 houses were heavily hit. In Metula, 120 houses were hit out of 700 homes. Homes that you cannot live in. This is the reality in the north. And in Kiryat Shmona, 50 homes were hit. And it says, out of 22,000 residents of Kiryat Shmona, only 3,000 stayed in that small town. And there's a concern from an escalation in the north, as we've been saying. This is Menachem Horowitz. He's a well-known figure in Israel. He has some news shows. He was a field reporter for many years. And he's also a resident of Kiryat Shmona, the town in the north. And he says what frightens the residents, including him, is the shooting from Lebanon. Back so many years ago, where he's lives there since so many years ago, he says there were small little katyushot, smaller bombs. But today they're anti-tank missiles. It's a different story. Big explosions. They're just afraid to live there. He believes that if the IDF will post soldiers, fighters, reservists on the border, so many of them, the residents, the Israeli citizens will feel safer and go back to their homes. Now we're with the IDF spokesman, Daniel Hagari. He says, Erev Tov, good evening. The chief of staff had an assessment of the situation, or the briefing with the generals up in the north. He's speaking about the different operations and attacks they did today in the northern border against terrorist infrastructure. About Gaza, down the south in Khan Yunis. The IDF soldiers are working underground, slowly, surely, with special technologies. We do not want to reveal to the enemy the methods that the IDF soldiers are using. But he says it will take time, but we will get to everywhere we need in Khan Yunis until we'll get to everywhere we need. In the central part of Gaza, we're continuing with offensive operations while searching for production lines of rockets and different missiles. We're finding them, we are attacking them, we're destroying them. Our forces are dealing with explosives around Khan Yunis, with terrorists that are walking around. They're surprising our forces. They'll put explosives in the streets, on the side of a building, on the side of a tank. Even today, our forces noticed a squad with 4 terrorists trying to put an explosive against the tank. But they noticed it, and they were all killed by an aerial vehicle that was for this mission. This is interesting because he's saying that the international world, especially the United States of America, are supporting and acknowledging what the IDF has been doing in the Shifa hospital. It takes time for this, but the fact that they're acknowledging what the IDF has done to Shifa hospital means that they are aware that the Hamas is using a cynical use of hospitals and other civilian buildings for terrorists, for attacking Israel. And he says, we will continue to reveal the terrorist infrastructure all around Gaza. We'll continue to destroy it in a very professional way while not destroying essential infrastructure in the hospitals. This evening, too, we remember the hostages in Gaza. We are updating the families with any information that we know. There are many political and military efforts to release them. These are the main stories in the evening news here in Israel on Channel 12. For more stories, go to All Israel News. Follow us on social media. Like this video if you like it. Please share these stories with your friends and family out there where you are. This is Rotem Magen for All Israel News.